Hello, I'm Trophy, and I'll be doing a tutorial on how to get started with coding on Toyhouse. First, here's kind of a roadmap you should follow if you want to completely refine your skills to create more flexible code. I suggest HTML to Bootstrap and then CSS. However, we'll be making a simple profile card that will be easy to understand. So now we're going to go back to the roadmap. I'm just going to give a brief summary of how each piece plays their part. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and is the skeleton of the code. With this, you assign tags to what you want them to be. Think of a tag like a building block. You can add many blocks into one main building block or have separate blocks that don't interfere with each other. The tags we'll be using today are div, img, a, p, and h2. Div, which means division, is I like to kind of think of it like a bracket. Any changes that you apply to this bracket will be applied to anything that's in within it, basically. And for division, there must be a start tag, and where you want to stop the changes, you will put an end tag. img, meaning image, an image tag does not need an end tag, but it does need something called an src, which stands for source. This is where you'll put the link to the image you'd like to display, as it stands for source of the image tag. A, meaning a hyperlink, which will redirect you to another website when clicked. To add the link to the website, you must add something called an href, which stands for hyperlink reference link. A tags need an end tag. T, meaning paragraph, this is a text tag. It'll be the smallest text tag, and it will also need an end tag. And then H2, meaning heading 2, is another text tag that also needs an end tag, but it will be larger than the paragraph tag. Now let's move on to Bootstrap. It's a framework that has pre-built stylization and is supported by Toyhouse. It'll make the stylization process much easier. For Bootstrap, we'll just simply be using row and column. To apply our changes for Bootstrap, we must place class in the start tag, then place either row or COL for column in quotes. Row tells our code that whatever tag is in our code must be placed one after another in a row. Column does the same, but tells it to stack on top of each other like a column. Then CSS is building your own customization. We'll be using it to readjust sizes and color to our text. To apply CSS, you will put style, then the CSS attributes into quotes. And this must be in the start tag as well. Okay, so now that we've understand the basics and stuff like that, we are going to go to th.circlejourney.net. This is basically a live preview of any code that you create into this little box. First, we're going to start with a div. Anytime you close it like this, it'll automatically add the end tag if it is necessary. So that's how you'll know that it absolutely needs an end tag. Before you start, you'd need to do some stylization. So we're going to do style equals and then quotes. And in these quotes, we are going to put display flex. We're going to be using a lot of CSS that I didn't really talk about, but if you'd like to learn more about them, literally just search up geek for geeks and then whatever I have typed in, and it'll like talk more about it. And to make everything in the center, like the box that we want in our center, we're first going to do justify content center. And then now that we have justified our content, we need to also align our items to the center. Want to have a specific font. So to add a font, you just do font family. I'm just going to do this one because it's literally everywhere. Now that we have done everything we needed to do for the first division, we're now going to create a division that will be the box in the center. So we're going to do another div. I'm just going to tab it so it's easier to see. And this is where we'll be using our first bootstrap, which will be a column. So we're going to do class equals column. And then I'm going to add two more attributes to this I didn't talk about. but it'll be LG for large, and then 5 to set it at 5 columns for the large set. And I'll show what this means at the end once we have our whole thing displayed, as it'll be easier to see why we need this attribute. And now with this new division, I'm going to add another one. We're not going to do anything in this one yet. I just want to see where we're at. So we're going to put an image and then src, which is our source. Then in this link, I'm going to put my profile picture from Toyhouse, but you can put whatever you want. And then we're going to end it off with a greater than sign. Now we see our thing is to the left. So we didn't really put everything in the middle. So we're going to do it with this one, this division. So we're going to do style. I'm going to do justify content center here. And then align items center. And I'm also going to do display flex. There we go. And I want to make this profile picture not so square, right? So we're going to do style. And then remember the quotes. We're going to put border radius. And usually I set this at like 20 or 30 for this one. We're just going to do 30. A cute little like header next to it. So we're going to do another image, screen. We'll use this one. And we see it is huge compared to our thing, and our thing is going above this thing. So we are going to use style to make this a lot smaller compared to our thing. So we're going to set the width at 200. Yeah, okay, that's good. We're going to set the width to 200 pixels. And I also want to make the image, our profile picture, a lot smaller. So we're going to do, just say width at 120. Yeah. Okay. And we also need to add a border radius to this. So border radius, we'll set it the same so it looks nice and even. You can set to whatever pixels you want for this. You can like, if you want this one to be bigger, you can. Next, you see how like so close they are to each other, and we don't really like that. I don't like how close they are to each other. So we can use margin to put them away from each other. Margin 5 pixels, and let's do 15. Okay, yeah. Do you see how like they separate from each other, but they also move a little bit? So this applies to like top, bottom, left, right. So it adjusts everything, not just like this area, but outside too. I feel like our background kind of looks a little plain. I'm going to readjust this division that's holding everything together and put some stylization into it. So we're going to do style again. Don't forget the quotes. So because we're using style and not the image tag, how do we put an image for our background? So first you're just going to put background and then URL, and anything that includes a link must have quotes. So because we're already using double quotes, I just use a single quote and it still works. And I'm going to put like some image I found like on Pinterest right here. And now you see how like it's still like hugging the borders over here, and I kind of really don't want that. So we're gonna set a fixed width to 400 pixels. You can do this to like whatever, like 500, 600, even 200 if you'd like. And we also need another border radius because it just makes it look a lot prettier. I'm actually gonna do 20. Yeah. Now, this entire div that we see right here is holding both of our images. And I would like our name to be above that. So instead of putting it into the div that we put our images in, I'm just going to put it on top of that. Just like that. But see, we don't really like how it's in the center like that. So we get to put style again. And usually for this, you don't have to do justify content or align items. There's a specific one for text that is just text align, and I just put that in center. Now that we have both of our images, already lined up. We're gonna do our characters now. So I want to have text that just says characters. So I'm just gonna do a paragraph because it's smaller than this one. And I'm also gonna put text align center. I'm just gonna copy and paste this so it's a lot easier. Say I want like a border for this, you can apply border stuff to text as well. So we're gonna do border, 1 pixel solid. We're just gonna leave it to black for now until like we get a color we like. Border radius 10, and then I'll make the background color. Just do background white. And now I want to display my characters down here. Also for like the background, don't worry if like it's not aligned to the entire box with you'd like. Every time you add something, it just grows. So you don't really have to stress about that. So first, when doing my character lineup, I have the name and then the image, name and then image, name and then image. Let's think about how we can use row and column to display that. First, we can have a row that goes across and then have 3 columns that go down to display the information. Anytime a column is added, it will go next to each other instead of on top of each other. So first, let's make a row with just div class equals row. Let's do a column. And in this column, we want name and then the image. So we're just gonna do just like that. And then image with source. And I'm just gonna do my C Olvera right there. Oh, and then we see this little thing coming out here. We don't want it to keep repeating if we reach the width limit. So with this, we are gonna do background size cover. So that you see how like now it's doing the entire thing instead of repeating if it goes above the thing. When we want to click both the name and the image, we want it to refer to our character Toyhouse link. So we're going to do it with A because A has the href that can go to the link. And you're going to grab the end tag. You want to make sure it goes from both the P attribute tag and then image tag as well. It won't have a link until we put href. So now when we click this and this, it'll refer to that. I'm not going to put a link just to save time, but... And now, I don't like how, for this, our thing isn't centered. So we're just going to put... I want to put it right here so it applies to all of them so we don't have to constantly keep going over and over again. We're going to do style, text align, center. And then, see... Actually, and then let's also put a border radius on the image so that it looks nice. Border radius. Let's put it at 20. Oops, this is wrong. I also don't like how large she is compared to her profile picture. So we're going to put width at 100 and also height at 100 so it stays fixed and doesn't like stretch out to something we don't really want. And with that, I'm just going to repeat it. And I also don't like how we have the coloring doesn't really match our thing here, right? So I'm going to do, to color text, you literally just put color. I'm going to do this same for character over here. Characters right here. I also want the border to be that color too. So let's copy the color and then change black to this. And then I also kind of don't like how it's just at the top awkwardly here. So to fix that, we're going to do height 70 VH. And with that, it's basically like a viewport. It takes like a percentage of what the screen is and it'll like readjust So you see how it like moves up and down like that. And then with this, I want to show why this large right here is very important. It basically is telling you we want 5 columns just going down like this. You can make it like smaller like this if you like, or just like large where it's like extending like this. I'm just going to keep it at 5 because I kind of like the ratio between all of this. But it is also mobile friendly too. With the columns and rows that we've displayed, you pretty much know how to code simple websites. And in addition, if you'd like to visit my toy house, I have codes that are free to use and you can modify them however you'd like. Maybe experiment with what you've learned and try to add another row or column or change the text or just do something fun. Like I want you guys to have fun with this and to learn, and I appreciate you guys watching this video.